You finish your course of antibiotics, your fever is gone, and you feel perfectly healthy on the surface. But stepping off a boat and descending into a column of dense water tests your body in ways ordinary life on land never will. This split-screen anatomy graphic shows exactly what you are recovering from. On the left, you see a healthy middle ear and clear mastoid air cells. On the right, the mastoid bone is packed with fluid and inflammation, mastoiditis. Clearing this out requires aggressive intervention, prolonged antibiotics, and sometimes a surgical mastoidectomy to drain the bone. Mastoiditis specifically targets the anatomical structures required to survive atmospheric pressure changes. This creates a difficult dilemma. Your primary care doctor has confirmed the infection is entirely gone and cleared you for normal daily activities. But you need to know if it is safe to subject your recovering ears to the weight of the water. Recovery for a diver is measured by whether the middle ear and mastoid bone can function under the physical load of the ocean. The answer comes down to a mechanical concept we can call the Eustachian bridge. To safely handle pressure, the airspace in your middle ear must communicate perfectly with the back of your throat to equalize. Medical clearance simply means you have finished your pills and no longer have a fever. Diving medical clearance requires a physical, structural test. Flawless, effortless equalization without pain or resistance. Rushing back into the water before those delicate mechanical structures have healed means trading a resolved infection for a physical barotrauma that can permanently damage your hearing. The first major mechanical threat you face after mastoiditis is equalization failure. Even after the active infection dies, lingering inflammation or rigid scar tissue often remains in the Eustachian tube. When you descend, the surrounding water pressure increases. Normally, the Eustachian tube flexes open to let air in and balance that pressure. Scarring prevents that tube from opening. If you continue to descend with a blocked tube, the external water pressure will force your eardrum inward. Within a few feet, this causes sharp, severe pain, leading directly to middle ear barotrauma, where blood and fluid burst into the middle ear space. This diagram shows a hidden secondary danger called a reverse block. If you manage to get air into your ear at depth, but inflammation pinches the tube shut when you ascend, those expanding air molecules become trapped. The pressure builds from the inside out. Beyond the Eustachian tube, the second major mechanical threat is the physical barrier of your tympanic membrane, the eardrum itself. Severe mastoiditis often starts with a ruptured eardrum. If that perforation has not completely sealed itself back together, you are diving with an open hole directly into your head. The moment you submerge, cold ocean water will breach that unhealed perforation and flood directly into the middle ear space. This forces millions of marine bacteria, algae, and particulates straight into a sterile cavity that is still recovering from a massive bacterial assault. The physical reaction is immediate. When cold water hits the vestibular structures inside the middle ear, it triggers acute, violent vertigo. Up and down lose all meaning. Compromised pressure mechanics turn routine depth changes into direct triggers for severe pain, chronic recurrent infection, or sudden underwater disorientation. That disorientation introduces the third threat: compromised vestibular stability. Severe mastoiditis can occasionally spread inward, leaving residual labyrinthitis or inner ear damage long after the bacteria are gone. Your vestibular system is your internal gyroscope. It processes gravity and acceleration to maintain your spatial awareness and balance. On land, a mild vestibular deficit might feel like a brief dizzy spell when you stand up quickly. But underwater, stripped of gravity and visual references, that mild dizziness magnifies into severe, paralyzing disorientation. Any level of residual dizziness or imbalance is strictly incompatible with safe diving. Losing your spatial awareness at 60 feet often leads to panic, rapid ascents, and fatal outcomes. The fourth threat applies if your treatment required surgery. You must carefully navigate the structural aftermath of a mastoidectomy. Not all surgeries are equal. Minor procedures that preserve the normal middle ear typically cause fewer long-term diving problems than extensive mastoid cavity surgery, where bone is permanently removed. Extensive surgery alters the physical anatomy of your ear. The altered volume and shape of the spaces behind your eardrum create unpredictable equalization challenges. It also introduces a unique post-surgical risk. Water can easily become physically trapped within the newly created mastoid cavity, leading to chronic moisture and recurrent infections. If you have altered surgical anatomy, standard medical clearance is insufficient. You require a specialized assessment by an ENT surgeon who specifically understands diving medicine and hyperbaric physics. Because sensory instability and anatomical changes present such high risks underwater, you have to bypass standard clearance and insist on rigorous mechanical testing. Before you think about booking a dive trip, you need to meet the absolute baseline requirements. You must have zero ear pain, zero discharge, and every single antibiotic pill must be finished. Then execute a mandatory physical test. You must equalize both ears easily and effortlessly on land. If you feel resistance or pain sitting in your living room, you are not ready for the ocean. This decision tree matrix maps your fitness to dive based on equalization. The green light pathway shows that if fully recovered, with normal hearing, normal balance, and effortless equalization, you are fit to dive safely. Yellow light, mild, stable hearing loss is often an acceptable risk. Reduced hearing requires strict operational compensation and visual awareness of your dive buddy and computer alarms. Conversely, red light scenarios are non-negotiable. Persistent Eustachian dysfunction, unhealed perforated eardrums, or any ongoing vestibular dizziness make you absolutely unfit to dive. This is a life-threatening risk. Once you are cleared, manage your return to the water carefully. Never dive with residual congestion. Descend slowly, always feet first. If equalization resists, stop immediately. Do not force a hard Valsalva maneuver to break through. If you underwent mastoid surgery, the final directive is simple. Secure explicit, documented clearance from a dive medicine physician before you pack your gear. Waiting for complete, flawless mechanical healing takes patience, but making sure your ears are fully ready for pressure protects your long-term health and guarantees you a lifetime of safe diving.